Andrew, you've got some picks out there, and we don't want to unveil the picks here. We want to direct everybody over to Gig'em247 to get your picks. We don't want to rob you of your views over there, but just give us a bit of a feel, because the over under is at 8.5, and what you were looking at. Obviously the schedule, but also the personnel additions and subtractions.
So Brian and I kind of, for those who I'm sure know, Brian Peroni also works with me on the 24/7 Sports site. We recorded a short little video. I don't know if it's out yet or it's coming out, but just kind of giving our season predictions. And he had it at 11-1, and I had it 10-2. And I think the pieces are in place to really win there. I think A&M feels fine with either Max Johnson or Haynes King at quarterback. I really do. I mean, the spring game performance obviously doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, but they have to remember that Max Johnson had a pretty good year last year. I know it wasn't perfect. I know he takes his deliveries a little longer, but he was pretty. He protected the ball for the most part. And I think if you put a strong running game around him, you can certainly win with him. And I think there's tools that Haynes King, he's got to get stronger, obviously, and become more durable. And get injuries were a concern, obviously, with the hit he took against Colorado. But I think he's a guy that you can certainly win with as well and get out on the perimeter. And he's got great speed. He can really make plays with his legs. He's got to just learn how to protect the ball more. But I think the other thing about it is you still have Devon Achane coming back, who I think has a chance to be one of the better running backs in the country this year. And, they've stacked good recruiting class on top of good recruiting class on top of good recruiting class. And they did lose some players from last year, the DeMarvin Leals and Aaron Hansfords, but have still got a lot of returning pieces on that side of the ball. There's a lot of optimism about McKinley Jackson. He played hurt quite a bit of last year, so I think they're hoping a healthy McKinley Jackson can kind of anchor the middle of the defense. Antonio Johnson's a guy that's now starting to show up on mock drafts and can move all over the secondary. Damani Richardson's back. And they've got a lot of talented pieces to turn to on the defensive line. I think the key for Texas A&M this year versus last year is returning several starters along the offensive line. You got Layden Robinson back. You got Bryce Foster back. You got Reuben Father. You aren't having to almost put together an entire new offensive line. I think left tackle is going to be in a better spot, probably with Trey Zoom there. I think he'll be an upgrade over Jameer Johnson. And then you've just got to kind of figure out that guard spot. And I think it's a challenge. Obviously, Kenyon Green's a big piece to replace. I do think with Evan Stewart in the mix at wide receiver, they can be more explosive in the passing game. And Chris Marshall is another guy that I think can certainly be a weapon on the outside and be dangerous there. And so, the pieces have to fall into place. A&M's got a really tough October. That's kind of where I looked at as maybe if they're going to slip up, obviously, the trip to Alabama on October 8th. Well, we talked about this on the Miami stream about they've got to go face Arkansas September 24th, then go to Mississippi State, then Alabama, then South Carolina, and home for Ole Miss. That's a pretty tough stretch of games.
Yeah, when you think about it, it was Ole Miss and Arkansas, of course, that tagged Texas A&M with losses there in October last year. The Mississippi State game came down to what? The last kick of the game, right? Right at the wire.
The Mississippi State one, they had a couple turnovers late in the fourth quarter against Mississippi State and Arkansas that the Mississippi State one, they couldn't get a stop on defense. Ole Miss and Arkansas, they had turnovers in the fourth quarter. And LSU, they weren't able to close it out. Late, obviously, gave up the late drive to Max Johnson, actually, who had to throw down the sideline late in the game to score the winning touchdown. But, a lot of close games, A&M just didn't finish. And turnovers hurt them. slow starts at times hurt them, inconsistency offensively and defensively, and so those were really I think the problems, but they were probably a couple plays here and there from 9-3, 10-2.